Right, today we're going to have a go at applying all the case studies you've been doing over the last 3 weeks to answering 7-mark questions in theme 3. Alright, so the first question we're going to have a look at is this one. It says, for a country you have studied, describe the positive and negative impacts of a named transnational corporation being located there. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is, what is my named transnational corporation? So my case study was Nike, and the country that I've studied is Vietnam. So I'm going to make sure that I make that really, really clear right from the start. Okay, then in order to get 7 marks, I know that I have to give place-specific details. So I'm going to say a little bit about Vietnam, and I'm going to say a bit about Nike and where they're located. And if I can't remember this off the top of my head, I'm going to use the file that's on Teams, okay? So, here it's in here, look. If you go in to the Year 10 team and you go into Files, Industry, you'll find a thing here that says Industry Supporting Notes, but I will attach it to the task anyway. Okay, so my introduction is going to look a little bit like this. Nike is a clothing manufacturer with its headquarters in Oregon in the USA. Because of globalisation, Nike can now produce goods in other countries and move the goods around the world in ships or aeroplanes. In Vietnam, Nike is located next to the mouth of the Saigon River in Ho Chi Minh, where they can transport their goods to the growing market of South, East and East Asia, but also across the Pacific to the US. The Nike Bien Hoa factory in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, opened in 1995 and focuses mainly on footwear manufacture. It produces 158 million pairs of shoes a year. Right, so I've pretty much smashed it with my introduction there. I've got loads of place-specific details. I've sort of cleverly woven in a bit of good geography there by talking about transporting goods and being at the mouth of the river and all that sort of stuff. So now I know I've done that, I've unlocked the 7-mark portal. What I need to do now is lay down some details about the positive and negative impacts of Nike in Vietnam. And I need to make sure as I'm doing that, I'm still putting in some more of those facts and figures as I go along. Now the question's asking about positives and negatives. All right, and when it specifically says that in a question where you've got 2 opposites or something like that, you need to make sure your answer's balanced, that you give the same amount of time and words to each of those things. So to make sure I get 7 marks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 of each. So I'm going to do 3 positives and 3 negatives. Okay. So my positives looks like this. Jobs are created by Nike, including the Converse brands, as they've got 40 factories in Vietnam and employ 300,000 people. Nike is Vietnam's largest employer. Also, thousands of indirect jobs are created from supplying the raw materials to the factories and supporting services like restaurants for the staff. You might have also heard these sorts of things known as ancillary services. Ancillary services are anything that kind of supports another business, so that would be quite a good word to use in there as well. So my second point, people are trained by Nike and they develop knowledge, skills and expertise for which helps them to open their own businesses and strengthen the economy in Vietnam. Okay, so this is good. Like, I'm not just making bullet points here, I'm actually kind of going on to describe the thing in more detail and giving supporting evidence. My third point for positives is improvements are made to the transport infrastructure, which can be used by other companies and local people around Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, so that's my section on positives. Okay, this is my section on negatives. So economic leakage happens, and many of the profits are taken out of Vietnam back to the Nike headquarters in the USA, so the local people don't get wealthy from their work. Workers are often very poorly paid and been asked to work in very poor conditions in sweatshops. Some of them have developed sicknesses and respiratory problems from inhaling fumes from the chemicals used. There's a lack of safety regulations in Vietnam, and there has also been child labour employed in some of the subcontracted factories. So Nike kind of get away with that by them not directly employing people, and making other factories kind of subcontract out their work so they don't have to be seen to be kind of holding up these standards. All right, and my third point there is, although the pay is low by international standards, it is actually higher than most other pay sectors in Vietnam, such as education and healthcare. So people are leaving their jobs as doctors and teachers to work in the Nike factory. Okay, so that's it. I've done my introduction, my section on positives and my section on negatives, and I reckon I've done a pretty good job there. So let's have a look at the mark scheme and see what that says. Okay, so 7 mark questions we know are level marks, so they are not point marked, all right? And it says, to get level 1, I need to have made statements with limited detail which describe positive or negative impacts. Well, I definitely know I've done that much. Okay, so let's level up to number 2. Have I used a named example? Yes, I have. And have I made more developed statements which describe the positive and negative impacts of a transnational corporation? I think I have. I'm feeling good about this. I think I've done that. And then it says maximum 5 out of 7 if no named or an inappropriate example is given. I think my Nike example is a good one. It's solid. Okay, so to get 7 marks, it says I need to have used a named example. Yeah. I need to give comprehensive and accurate statements which describe the positive and negative impacts of a TNC, including some place-specific reference. I have definitely done that. It says you must have both positive and negative, but one of these can be at level 1. So I could have probably done less than I did, but for safety's sake. So it says the content guide here, so I could refer to employment, economic growth, infrastructure, exploitation and environmental destruction. I reckon I've done the exploitation, infrastructure, employment and economic growth there, so I think I'm doing pretty well there. You don't need to have covered all of them. You can see it says could refer to, so this is just a general, it is not you must have done all of those things to get 7 marks. It's more like that you have to have written comprehensive and accurate statements and use place-specific reference and done positive and negatives. That's what will get you up to 7. And it says here the place-specific reference is likely to consist of locational details. Yep, done that. Specific details of the transnational corporation. Yep, I've done that. And named settlements. Yes, done it. Smashed it. It says, please note the focus of the question is advantages and disadvantages for the country and not the TNC. So there is a little loophole that you might fall into if you did not take your time to read the question properly on that one. Okay, I reckon that's a pretty good example of what a 7 mark answer should look like for that one. So let's have a go at another one. Okay, so the next question is name an area where manufacturing or processing industry is important and give an example of a type of industry or factory which you have studied in that area. Explain the reasons for its growth at that location. Now, I could use my Nike case study. If my locational details are hot enough for that one, I could definitely use that as well. But we've spent some time looking at the M4 corridor case study, which personally I think fits this answer a lot better. It's almost like it was made for it. So do me a favour, go and open the M4 corridor case study that's in that document that we just looked at before, and have a go at this question yourself. So write an introduction the same as I've done, do your site and situation info, then give 3 physical reasons why the industry might be there, and then give 3 human reasons why that kind of high-tech footloose industry is in the M4 corridor. You might find that you've got 4 reasons for one and 2 for the other, and that's fine because in the question it's not asking you to give kind of 2 sides of an argument, which it was in the other one. It was asking for positives and negatives. This is just a really good way to structure your answer because obviously physical and human reasons will make sure that you've got everything covered. Alright, so stop the video here, have a go at that question in your books. And start playing me again when you have finished it. It should really take you no more than about 10 to 15 minutes, not even that, because in the exam you would only have like 10 minutes max for this question, okay? So do not spend any more time than that on it, please. We're back. You should have finished your M4 Corridor 7-mark answer. Here is the mark scheme. It tells you exactly the same as the last one. To get 7 marks or a level 3 answer, named example, comprehensive and accurate statements including place-specific reference. You could refer to impacts such as there's a large workforce, there's good transport links, cheap land, flat land, raw materials, energy supply, water supply, markets nearby, which the M4 corridor does cover all of those lovely things. So hopefully you've all managed to smash that one out and got 7 out of 7 for it. I'm hoping that you have, because that was your practice shot. Now, next up, what I would like you to do, and you're going to submit this one, please. One more 7-mark question about barley and your case study that you have been working on over the last week. So the question says, another economic activity is tourism. For a named example of an area you have studied, explain why the physical and human landscapes attract tourists. Name of area. Okay, so attached to the task today is a completed barley tourism case study document for those sinners among you who did not finish it when you should have and hand it up. So have a read through that just to refresh your memory. And again, follow the same structure. Introduction, where's barley? What's the situation there? And then physical and human landscapes. So you need to hit on 3 really good physical reasons why people go there, and then 3 really good human reasons why people go there, and write it in that structure, please. Once you have finished that, if you're writing in your book, take a photo of it and upload it into the assignments. If you are doing it on a Word document, then submit that via the assignments. Don't forget to attach it. There are some of you who are attachment nightmares. Don't make me chase you, people. I need this handed in, please, by Sunday morning at the very latest. Okay, any questions, ask in the chat, please. Thank you muchly.